Hello.
So hello, Vumi, we can see you, we can hear you. So we are going to start right away.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone.
Sorry, Peter, we can't hear you.
Good morning.
All right, we can hear you now. You can go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon again. Good evening for wherever you're connecting from. My name is Peter Ifeanyi Chukwu Ugoke. I lead the business side of of Background Check International, BCI. I am glad to welcome you to this edition of the 18th anniversary webinar titled The Role of Background Check in Premarital Relationships. Thank you so much for joining. I can see we have a lot of people joining us already. Please, while you are joining, welcome. And please use the comment section to tell us where you're joining us from. We would love to hear your location and all the places you are connecting with us. And feel free while the conversation is going to chat us, talk about what is happening, ask your questions, put your comments through, tell the panelists what you feel about what they are talking about, and anything you want to. It's an interactive session, and it promises to be a very fun one. So thank you. I welcome everyone again to this 18th anniversary webinar, the role of background check in premarital relationship. I would like to welcome all our panelists here on ground. I would also, first of all, welcome our leadership of the company. We have our chairman here, Dr. Tunji Olugbodi on the call. It's always a pleasure to have you around, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll have a chairman's remark pretty soon. But before that, let me quickly introduce all the other panelists on the call. I also have our CEO, Managing Director, Mr. Kola Olugbodi on the call. You're welcome, sir. Okay. I want to also welcome our own barrister, Barrister Ade Adeniji, who is also on the call, a proficient lawyer of over 3 decades. Mr. Adeniji is a chartered secretary. It's everything you talk about when you say legal luminary. We're glad to have you on the call, sir.
Thank you, Peter. Great to be here.
Okay, great. We also have on the call Mrs. Olubumi Lawson. Mrs. Lawson is a woman I admire so much when it comes to the business scape, and she's one of the, I dare to say, African lionesses in the space. When I heard she was coming on the call, I was excited, and it's always a fun time listening to her. Good morning, Ma.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Peter. Good morning. It's good to be here. It's
Good
good to be here.
morning.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ma. So, just a quick one. Mrs. Bumi Lawson is the founder of Edfin Microfinance Bank. When you talk about educationally focused microfinance bank, they are the first, and we are always happy to identify with the first. So, Madam Lawson, thank you for joining the call. Also on the call
Thank you
is
very much.
thank you, ma'am. Also on the call is Barrister Peniela. Barrister Peniela is one person that all through the years, because I have a lot of friends within the legal space as well, and every one of them would always have Peniela on their voices. Interestingly, this is the very first time I would interact with him and hear him speak. So it was a pleasure when I heard he was going to be on the call. So, Mr. Barrister, so good to have you here on the call, sir. Good morning. Okay, while we're waiting for him, we also have our very own moderator who will be anchoring the program very pretty soon. Our owner, Kemisola Olaogo. Kemisola Olaogo is the due diligence expert. When you talk about people who are already doing some of the things and all the things we'll be talking about today, getting their hands dirty on getting it done, Kemisola is also one of them. So it's a pleasure to have Kemisola moderate this session. Kemi, how are you today?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Barrister Peniela, I had introduced you earlier. Good morning, sir. We can't seem to hear you.
Good morning, sir. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, perfect. Crystal.
Good morning, sir. It's good to be here.
So, such a pleasure to have you, sir. Okay, so all protocols duly observed. I would like to also acknowledge the management of BCI and all the staff as well who has been keeping it real all these years. I would like to welcome everyone on the call. And just a quick one. Few days ago, that was April 1st, we turned 18. So it's with so much joy in our hearts that we are having this session to commemorate the 18th years anniversary. So for us, it's a thing of joy, and we derive so much pleasure and pride in doing what we do for the past 18 years, sanitizing the corporate Nigeria. That's 18 years of helping both individuals that conducting background checks and due diligence for companies. We have been doing this, helping a lot of companies both in Africa and the world, help them confirm that their employees are who they really say they are. The world is growing increasingly insecure, and you can't even be sure the next person beside you. So in order to create a very a healthy working atmosphere, we have been helping companies all over the world conduct background checks and to make sure that the people that are within their system are individuals they can trust to do their job, individuals they can trust with that they have the right character, the right qualification, and the integrity to do what they have been asked to do and paid to do as well. So it's our pleasure to host this webinar to talk about the role of our job in premarital relationship. This is something that in the past 18 years, we have been helping both families and individuals do. We've had parents come to us to say, we want to conduct checks on our spouse, or somebody who's coming to marry our son, our daughter, and it's been interesting all the way to see how the landscape of premarital background check has been over these years. And this is something we have competently delivered. And I can say that all the people we have done this for have given us all positive feedbacks about how the way it has helped them. And I'm sure by the time the session goes through, we will still hear all the case studies and people who have a thing to say about what we do. So without further ado, I would like to call on our own chairman again, Dr. Tunji Olugbodi, to give us the chairman's opening remark and to declare this session officially open. Thank you so much, everyone who has joined. Thank you. Chairman, sir.
Thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from, the rest of the globe. My duty is a very simple one. It's just to welcome us all to this very important session. I think this session is a very important one in the sense that when the notice went out, and I also tried to create some communication around it, I got a few people who reached out to me and said, "Oh, so is it really important to do background check for weddings, for marriages?" And one interestingly said, "Why don't you leave it in the past? If somebody has declared who he or she is before they got married, why don't you just leave it in the past?" Well, all of these are indicators for me that we're going to have a very interesting session today. So I really will commend all of us to dive deep into it and to make it as interactive as possible. On that score, I'd like to thank our panelists. I'd like to thank the management for organizing this, which is a recognition of the 18th year anniversary of Background Check International. We are very proud of the antecedent of Background Check and what Background Check has been doing in the business space in Nigeria. My belief is that by the time we're through with today's session, people will be a lot more enlightened, they'll be a lot more educated, and perhaps there will be eye-openers in terms of what could be, what should be, and what the ideal situation should be when you talk about lifelong issues and commitment that has to do with marriages. And of course, perhaps again, people will be able to understand the difference between the wedding and the marriage as a lifelong project. Once again, I'd like to welcome you all to this session. By this, I declare the session open, and I wish us very successful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That was our chairman, Dr. Tunji Olubodi. Thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you so much. Okay, so quickly, a quick one. Welcome everyone who has just joined. I would quickly now hand the baton to our very own moderator, Oluwakemisola Olabe. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 18th anniversary webinar of Background Check International Limited. It's my pleasure to be here. I do not take this opportunity for granted. And standing on the existing protocol, thank you so much, Peter, for that awesome introduction. And I welcome every one of us once again, the panelists and our wonderful chairman, and also every of our participants. I want you to know that you are so much important to us. Let us know where you're joining from. Kindly put up your chat box, your name and your location. Let us hear from you. Wow, what a beautiful time we are having already. I don't know if you're enjoying the session already. I want you to know that this topic is the one that actually interests me. By virtue of introduction, my name is Oluwakemisola Olaogun. People call me Global Kemi, and I have so much interest in relationship. So you can tell why this topic actually interests me. And by the virtue of introduction as well, I'm going to be reading the profile of our panelists, and then we'll jump right into the conversation. But before I do that, I want to see your chat. Let me know your name and where you're joining us from, so that we can familiarize ourselves that way. So I'm waiting. Can we do that now? Your name, where you're joining from, your name, your location. And also, if you have a question, it's a good time to start dropping your question, because this is going to be awesome. Every question is going to be well attended to. If you are like me, who this topic interests as well, ensure you drop your question. Let me know your name and where you're joining from. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead now to read the profile of our speaker, of our panelists, and from there we'll jump right into the questions. While I'm doing that, ensure you drop your name and your location. So I'm going to start with Mrs. Bumi Lawson. Mrs. Bumi Lawson is the pioneer, MD and CEO of Edfin Microfinance Bank Limited, the first specialized education microfinance bank with unique and well-researched products. Oh, I'm getting a call now that the chat is disabled. We'll work on it. It would come on now. As I was saying, Mrs. Bumi Lawson is the pioneer MD and CEO of Edfin Microfinance Bank Limited, the first specialized education microfinance bank with unique and well-researched products and services tailored to cater for the needs of its consumer and the education ecosystem. Mrs. Lawson holds a master's degree in business administration from IESE Business School, University of Navarra. Is an alumnus of the Lagos Business School, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, and a member of Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Prior to joining Edfin, Bumi was the MD of Ocean Microfinance Bank, one of the largest microfinance banks in Nigeria. FHCE Foundation Limited, GTE, a leading business development service provider, a co-owner of ED of VLA Lawrence and Associates, a leading HR services organization, and has over 32 years postgraduate experience in finance, insurance, marketing, auditing, and banking. Please let's make welcome Mrs. Bumi Lawson. What an awesome profile. So I'm going to go now to Mr. Peniela Eniayo. Is a believer in Christ and a passionate teacher of God's word, alongside his other itinerant preachings. He actively coordinates Love Straight Talk, an expression of his ministry work where he labors to make as many marriages as possible centers of revival by helping singles make the right choice of a life partner and coaching them upon marriage to follow biblical principles for marital success. He is also a lawyer, a public affairs analyst, and a human rights activist. Please let's make welcome Mr. Peniela Akintujoye. You're welcome. The third on our panelist section today is Chief Adewale Adeniji, a legal practitioner, chartered secretary, tax advisor, chartered arbitrator, and business executive. He has had over 34 years of cognate experience as a corporate legal professional, exclusively in the private sector of the Nigerian economy. He holds a law degree from Ogun State University, Ago-Iwoye, and the University of Lagos, and was called to the Nigeria Bar in November 1988. He also holds a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrator, UK, and associateship of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, and the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. He cut his legal teeth in the prestigious law firm of GOK Ajayi, Sand & Co., where he learned the ropes as a litigation attorney, and the corporate law firm of Fayemi Folarin, Sonoiki & Co., where he learned his craft as a corporate attorney. He currently serves ICSAN, Lagos State Branch, as Vice Chair of the Education Committee. Please make welcome Chief Adewale Adeniji. It's an awesome to have you on the panelist session, sir.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
And the last but not the least on our panelist session is our very own MD and CEO, Mr. Kola Olugbodi. He became an entrepreneur in 1995. He was the CEO of Josh Cyrus, a human resource and outsourcing organization. After this, he became the inaugural CEO of Background Check International, BCI, a pioneer of the background check industry in Nigeria and West Africa in 2004. And today, we're celebrating the 18th year anniversary webinar. Kola Olugbodi is Africa's leading background check expert. He is also the inaugural chairman of the Society of Professional Background Check Screeners, Nigeria, and the author of the intriguing and life-changing book, Through It All, a memo of my many trials and triumph. The book captures some of the challenges he faced from childhood till adulthood and how he surmounted them all. Kola Olugbodi is the 2021 Marketing Edge Outstanding Background Check Brand Personality of the Decade. Kola Olugbodi is widely traveled and he is a public speaker and he facilitates workshops and conferences. He is an encourager whose hallmark in life is to always impact other people's life for good and for God. He is married and blessed with 2 precious children. Let's make welcome Mr. Kola Olugbodi. Wow.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome, sir. I'm more than glad that this conversation is going to be a life-changing one. Considering the list of panelists that we have, I believe we are ready to to set the ball rolling this morning. Our topic, as we all know, is the role of premarital checks. And if there is one thing particular about this conversation, is the fact that one thing I want us to go home with, even after this conversation, is for us to see the benefits that is actually attached to carrying out premarital background check. So I will take it from way back now, considering the days of our grandparents, how that they actually started what we know as background check. I don't know if we all agree with me. I believe by the time I would finish this story, we will all agree with me. If you take a look at it, our grandparents, when it comes to the issue of marriage, they do not take it lightly. They go as far as researching about the family history of the person you are bringing on board. They go as far back as tracing the history, the genealogy. Okay, what has been happening in this family before now? Okay, what is something that is significant to this family? And these are the things that they actually put together to form a report before you're actually allowed or accepted into the family. So background check is actually not, premarital background check did not start today, just that it has now been packaged to ensure that it fits into the world that we have today. And it's even more important right now than ever before, because at least during those periods, we had a communal relationship. But looking at the current day world that we have, it is more of an individualistic society, which I feel is even much more important even than before. So we're going to be setting the conversation rolling now and throwing it out to all our panelists. What does premarital check means to you? So I'm going to start from Mrs. Lawson as the only woman on this panelist section.
Yes, thank you very much, Kemi. Thank you very much for that and for the background. And it is true that, you know, historically, families were, you know, normally even lived within a village community. They knew each other, you know, and so on. But in the modern age today, and with the population growth, there are people, you know, that you will get to know, but you don't know their background. And I have always believed that when you go into a relationship, especially one that starts to get serious, that you are marrying not only your boyfriend or fiancé at that time, but also family. So you have to be sure that you are able to cope, to understand and adhere to the culture and norms of the family in which you are marrying into. So because today we are no longer as close as we used to be, you know, in times past, the population has grown. People live a more isolated, I would say, system of living there. You may even have a neighbor that you hardly ever talked to. So how do you know about that family? Usually they are not a popular family, and even if they are, it depends on what they're putting out. So you really want to understand who the family is, who they are. And so therefore, I do think that a background check is important, you know, especially for the family of the bride, you know. So it may be tough, you know, because you have to be sure that the other party understands. But the thing that I always say is that one is about transparency. So the family that one is going to do a background check, or the boyfriend, you inform them. I believe in the one that you inform, not that you're sneaking behind to go and check and so on and so forth. In fact, I feel that if you have to sneak behind, you already means that you have some sort of red flag that so you should be able to discuss it with your boyfriend or the family to see. We just want to do a thorough check, because as I say, when I want to employ someone in my organization that is of a less permanent, I will say, relationship, I investigate them, we do medical check and all of that. How much more when you want to fuse with another family? and you're giving your precious daughter away to this family, you want to know that she's going into a safe house. So that's just an introduction anyway, and we start with that. We say that I feel it's important to understand and know the family you're into. After the girlfriend, of course, would have known the character, or that okay, I love this boyfriend, I want to become serious. I don't think it's every single boyfriend you have, you start dating somebody to do, then to do background check. No, I do feel that you have reached a stage where you now believe that the relationship is getting serious and that you want it to be more permanent. And that's the time to do a background. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that awesome session. I actually have 2 questions from what you just said, but I will leave that and I'll come back to it after now. I want us to have Mr. Panela Eniayo to speak from a relationship coach perspective concerning premarital check. Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, I think the sound is faint. Can you probably increase the volume, sir? Oh, we still can't hear you clearly. Or is it from my hand alone?
No, we can't hear him from here either.
Oh, okay.
Hello. What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly now. Very good now.
Okay, very good. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so yes, yes, the importance of background check. We have noted that marriage is a lifelong relationship. Is a relationship that lasts for life, and it's such a destiny-altering relationship, whether for good or for bad. Again, it's often a journey of no return. From the Christian perspective, it's a lifelong journey. Even if anybody plans to divorce along the line, if somebody, for instance, says, okay, let me not take it too seriously. If I get it wrong, I'll simply divorce. We all know that even divorce does not leave anyone the same. And the record will still be there. Often it's a permanent record that you have once been married, and maybe there are even children from the marriage. They are permanent testament to that marriage. So because of how sensitive, how irreversible, so to speak, marriage can be, that is the reason it is so critical. It's extremely critical to take one's time to look before one leaves. I do use a very funny example that even something as inconsequential as buying a land. Anytime we want to buy a land, we lawyers want to buy a land, we will conduct the history. We are going to look at the history of the land. You check whether the person that wants to sell to you is the rightful owner. You go to the land registry to check whether that land has what we call encumbrances. And thankfully, I have my very senior colleague on the panel. So you check whether the land has encumbrances, whether they have used it to take it, whether there is a charge on the land. These are all the things you do, You also check whether it is subject to the government acquisition or not before you even pay to buy the land. So to buy a land that is just an ordinary property, sometimes for 2 months, you are still doing the background check. How much more marriage that is lifelong, that is almost irreversible. So the simple rationale, the wisdom beyond the background check is that you want to know what you are buying. I sometimes refer, the aspect of relationship, getting married, like a market. You are going to a market to go and shop for a wife. You want to shop for a husband. You want to be sure what you are buying, whether what you are buying is something that will bring you premium tiers or something that is going to give you joy. So, and we should note that now, even apart from the family background, which our first speaker had already addressed, even the person that you want to marry, whatever is their history, you are going to inherit it. Whatever is the content of their past, whether good or bad, And, we have too many, I have too many examples of, stories that I've encountered in counseling that makes this matter more serious. Whatever they have gone through, whether good or bad, even if they have addictions, if they have behavioral problems, if they have all manner of things, everything that they have that they are bringing to the marriage is yours to inherit. And you are the one that will battle with it for the rest of your life. So it would then be very, very, I don't know whether I would say to be unreasonable for someone to say, no, forget my past. My past is gone and they don't ask about it. Don't ask about, let's just go ahead. No, it's not true. There are many things that happened in the past that dovetail into the future. There are many things that happened in the past that have impact. They have roles to play in the future. The sense of knowing is so that you can count the cost before you go in. And if there are things that can be done to make, to address some of those challenges before you go into the irreversible zone, you can address some of those things before you marry. And if you feel that there are things that you cannot cope with, you can backtrack and save yourself from future regret. So that is the importance of background check. It's so critical. Nobody must joke with this. Very, very critical. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that wonderful contribution, I must say. And speaking on that, you mentioned how that before people acquire a land, they go as much as carrying out a background check for a series of months. Some even spans to years, just to be sure that they are not entering into a journey of no return, or probably their money will not be refundable to them. How much more a lifelong relationship, just as Mrs. Bumi said. So I'm going to go to Chief Adewale now. From the legal perspective, what do you think about premarital check?
Okay. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you so much, sir.
Let me take it from this angle. By virtue of my work as a litigator, I know that in 2022 alone, in the High Court of Ogun State, for example, over 1,000 dissolution of marriage cases were filed.
Over 1,000.
Many of which in Ogun State, many of which were not even up to 10 years. Now, the same statistics, but even worse, we can find in the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. Till date, from the beginning of 2021 till the last time I checked was in February 2023, over 6,000 cases of dissolution of marriages had been filed. Now, the sad statistics of all this is that these petitions to dissolve marriages involve a lot of young people. People not yet out of their 30s. Wow. So it's like marriage has become, quote and unquote, rushing in and rushing out. I do not have the statistics readily, but a lot of cases that I am aware of personally or petition to dissolve a marriage revolve around 1, financial stress, 2, sexual incompatibility or sexual deviance, and 3, domestic violence. So with the statistics that I just shared, it becomes more important than ever for there to be premarital background check. You mentioned it, Kemi, and I think another panelist mentioned it. I think it was Mrs. Lawson that mentioned it, that our parents and the generation of their own forebears did traditional background check, which is why you will discover that in the generation of our parents and their own parents, if you are lucky to have met your grandparents alive, you discover that marriages lasted longer for the simple reason that people did background check. They want to know what the family is like. They want to know if there are any diseases in the family. They want to know whether there are infractions in the family. So you know that without even debating the point, background check is very, very important from the legal perspective, as you asked me. As we go on in the webinar, I'm sure more things will be asked and answers will be performed. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you so much, sir, for the legal perspective. And looking at these figures, it kind of scares me. And I'm much more excited that we're having this conversation because I believe this is going to avert additions to this number. I believe by the virtue of this conversation, people will get to understand the benefits attached to carrying out a premarital check. And I believe so strongly that it would lead to reduction even in the numbers that we have in high court. I believe so strongly. So we're going to go over to our MD now to give us perspective from the due diligence, from a due diligence expert view.
All right. Thank you so much, Kemi. So I welcome every one of us to this webinar once again. The importance of background check in premarital relationships. Of course, one thing about background check, it's the problems that happens, or the issues that eventually people experience for not conducting background check, for not carrying out the necessary due diligence. Those are the things that actually makes it important for the issue of background check to be introduced into premarital relationship. Number one, background check is all about verifying claims. Background check is all about making sure that we put facts to figures. Background check is all about corroborating any information that has come to us. Anything that we think somebody said, oh, okay, this is what we think the response is. So if we look at it from that angle, you'll discover that it's very important. Number one, you're meeting. Now, it may not be so necessary if who you are going into a relationship is somebody that you've been friends, or you've been together from secondary school, you attended the same university, then ended up in the same church or the same mosque. All right, and then you've always been family friends, you go to their house, I mean, vice versa. But when you're talking of a stranger, someone you met at a party, somebody you met at an event, or even someone you met online, that is a stranger. And you know, there is this adage coined from the Holy Book: every man at the beginning, they bring forth good wine, and when people are well drunk, then they bring back out the worst one. You understand? You don't meet anybody from the beginning and they are looking harsh, they are looking like people wicked. Every guy, we always put the right foot front first. So everybody looks appreciable, everybody looks approachable, everybody looks appealing. But you don't relate with people if it's going to be a long-term thing based on face value. Like we call it these days, somebody meets you and says, oh, can we go out? Okay, it's still going out. And then it starts calling you, and then it's asking for a relationship, which is called dating this age. By the time we are going to start talking about dating, you don't go into it blindly. You understand? Of course, love had not been totally released then. There is nothing called love at first sight. But before you start falling in love, you need to start asking questions. Who is this guy? Who is this lady? Where is she from? What makes her tick? Where is he working? What's the background, the family, life like? You understand? You need to really now delve into questions. And like I tell the young ones of these days, I say, oh, somebody is dancing around me. I said, from the onset, ask many questions. And in you asking many questions, you are not asking for head knowledge alone. You are asking so that you can corroborate some of the things is said. You know, there are a lot of funny things happening around. When I hear that a man killed his wife or a wife killed her husband, the first question I'm asking myself is that, so how did they meet? Didn't she or did he realize that this guy has this trait? Because there is nothing that happens in our life that always been traits. If a person is a liar, he's not going to start lying to you now. He has always been a liar. So there is always a trait. You understand? So, of course, background check is number one, the native intelligence. You applying your native intelligence, somebody is talking to you. You know, there's a story of a guy when he met a lady, they were talking and she said, so what university are you? Did you attend? He mentioned the university, mentioned very nice things. They ended up wedding. He didn't have a work when they got wedded. And so after wedding, the lady said, oh, give me your CV. Let me send it around to people. And he gave a CV that was doctored, fake. The guy never attended any higher institution. He placed it there that he went to so university, fake places where he had never worked. And he just doctored, he cooked up a resume, gave to the wife, and the wife was firing everywhere. And anytime they tell the wife, oh, tell your husband to come for an interview, he will always give an excuse. First year, second year, fourth year. And then the wife had to get in touch and say, Egba me, like they say in Yoruba. I said, something is not adding up. I said, I'm not sure my husband went to university. He's always giving an excuse. I've asked him, show me your certificate. And he said, something happened. I didn't collect it in the university. I didn't pay for clearance. You know, at the end of the day, it was discovered that the guy everything he had said was blatant lie. So please, it's all about you, verifying claims, knowing the true identity of people, checking them to, there's somebody that told me they've been in a relationship for over a year. I said, so how is the parent, how are the siblings and everything? He said, he has never taken me home. I've never met anybody in the family. And of course, the red flag I just said, so what relationship are you in? You don't know his friends. Never met the mother after almost like a year. You've not met any of the siblings. He said, it's not yet time. When it's time, I'll take you. I said, there is a problem. And I told her, I insisted, I said, take me there this weekend or no more relationship. There are a lot of things going on. And at the end of the day, I got the statistics from the internet. They conducted research on pattern of depression among patients in Nigerian family practice. And it was conducted in a hospital in Ilesha, family practice clinic at Wesley Guide Hospital in Ilesha. They got 250 interviewers. They interviewed 250 persons, rather, male, female. And out of 250, 149 of them actually have depression issues. That's 60% of the number of people that they actually interviewed. And of the 149, 104 of them were females, and then 45 of them were males. 70% of 149 were females. Only 30%, 45, were males. And this shows us how it happens. And I think I got another statistic from an hospital like 2-3 years ago. It actually fits into this. The number of females in the hospital were 70% for depression reasons, were 70% compared to 30% guys. The guys were there for drug issues. The ladies were there, the younger ones were there primarily for relationship issues, things that didn't work out. A guy that actually that jilted them and all those things, you know. Let me finish with this last story, Kevin. You know, this is somebody very close to my wife, somebody I know also. She had given out wedding invitation, including my wife, and all preparation was in top gear. And you know, suddenly someone saw that Ivy and said, "I know this guy. This guy is a married guy. I know his family." And this young lady said, "No, he's not married. Maybe they look alike, you know." And the lady said, "Go and ask him. She is married." And then she went to him and said, "Somebody say he knows your family." I said, you know, Yorubas will say God created every human beings in twos, double. Say somebody like this, like me. And so she went back to tell the lady, and said, "No, it's not him. It's just a look-alike." You know, because that one knew the family, she went to bring a picture. I said, "See, this man is married with 2 children." Of course, the lady developed mental issues after that and said, "I will never marry. I don't trust any man. Every one of them are liars." All right. So because of the issues that marrying someone that you know little about their background, because of the issues that normally actually crop up, you just need to checking. You know, the biggest problem is that people always think that, oh, it's as if I don't trust. But it's not about the issue of trust. It's not about the issue of trust. Like we say in background check, checking you out, corroborating some of your claims actually helps me to trust you the more. And if they are lies, then it helps me to know what to do with my life. So let me stop there for now, Kevin.
In fact, you've really said so much, and even considering the case studies that you have given us this morning, you have actually corroborated the more reasons why premarital check should not be avoided. But taking a clue from your last point, you mentioned how that premarital check is actually not a place, or it's not from a place of distrust. It's actually, it doesn't mean that I actually do not trust you. But looking at the sensitivity level of mind generation, how that any small thing, any small investigation can actually mean that, oh, you don't trust me. Oh, you mean everything I've told you before now, you don't believe them. Oh, why do you think background check is necessary? And also, Mrs. Bumilosing mentioned something in that regard, that how that it should not be something discreet, that the person should be aware that you're carrying out background check on them. But considering the sensitivity level of our generation, how that any small thing can actually be like, oh, is it that you don't trust the information I gave to you? How should we manage such situation? Should it be discreet or non-discreet? That is now a debate. So Mrs. Losing should go first, and then we have every of our panelists coming afterwards.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Should it be discreet or not discreet? As I said earlier, I believe it should be non-discreet because, as you said, it's an issue of trust. I feel that the bride or the girlfriend should be able to tell the man, or vice versa, that, oh, if background check would be done. One of the things I feel is that we could even use the excuse that my family tradition is that we must do background check. You understand? Background check is not that, oh, I don't believe what you told me, but that there may be some gaps. So to me, I feel focus on the gaps There are some things that we don't know. I want my family also to feel comfortable. So most times I feel that in the case of my own daughter, when we did the family background check on the groom's family, I feel that families that have nothing to hide would tend to understand. I even feel also that it makes that family understand that, oh, your daughter or your son, if you are checking for a bride, is very precious to you. That is why you are making this extra effort to do the background check. So I actually do feel that discuss with the family why you feel it is at least the bride and the groom should be aware that that the background check is going to be done. It shouldn't be secretive, because if you now go behind and they find out or something happens, then that's where the issue of, oh, you don't trust me comes in. So I discuss with them, because it even leads you to get more information. You also see what their reaction would be to that background check. Are they really open to it, or are they refusing blatantly and all that? So sometimes your groom and he says, no, you cannot do it. To me, that is the red flag. You need to ask, why are they saying you can't do it, and so on and so forth. So it's okay. The information you want, I will tell you. So while they may tell, you just have to put your foot down that you want to have an independent check, especially on areas that we are explaining the issues that some of you raised in this webinar about. This is a lifelong relationship. When you go for a job, you can't tell your employer that you should not do a background check on you. You understand?
You're very right, Mom.
Hey, you are marrying your family, and so on and so forth. You want to know the brother, the history, and all of those kind of things, so that the marriage starts on a good footing. And so a background check, to me, should help to build trust, openness, transparency, and even give you more information that maybe even in a lifetime you may not even be able to assess yourself, and you only when you marry that you now find out some issues. Now, one of the questions normally comes up when you say, oh, if you do this background check, so you now find something wrong, what will you do? It depends on what the wrong is.
In fact, we're even going to come back to that question, because it is also very, very paramount, because I want to believe that not all the premarital check will be positive. So in such situations, then it needs another information on how to manage it. But still speaking on whether it should be discreet or not discreet, Mr. Peniela, from the relationship coach perspective, what do you think? Should it be discreet or non-discreet? Should the guy or the lady be aware that, okay, I want to conduct a background check on you?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, before I say that, I want to make a little comment about the issue of trust. I really feel that many people do not understand what trust means. Trust is never a gift that you don't give somebody.
Preach it.
So trust must be earned.
Awesome.
Yes, trust is always a product of a track record of consistency. So if many people, I find it very appalling that many people in relationship want their partner to donate trust to them as a gift. It doesn't work that way. That cannot be true trust. True trust is that I said A, somebody went to check discreetly behind me, found it A. I said B, they went to check discreetly, they found it B. I said C, they went to check it discreetly, they found it C. When I said D, they will likely not go to check again. They will trust me by virtue of a track record of integrity that has been demonstrated. So even if I am the person in a relationship and I'm just meeting you, you are asking me out, or whether or maybe we have known before, but now you are trying to take the relationship serious, and then I now tell you that I want to conduct background check, and you now say, is it that you don't trust me? If I am the person, I will answer yes. I don't trust you yet. because trust is never a gift. I have to check out. When I now check out, when I check all the things you have said, because I'm just knowing you. So you don't expect me to just trust you like that. So for me, I don't see anything. There's no big deal in telling somebody I'm just meeting that I don't trust you yet. And if you get angry because of that, then it means you are proud. I personally never get agitated if anybody wants to check me out. There are times where somebody who wants to give me a brief, but we are meeting on the internet. And they are asking me questions and they are saying, don't be annoyed. I tell them I will never be annoyed. You are just meeting me. Why should I expect you to trust me when you have never known who I am? So that is the first thing I want to say. Trust is never a gift we donate. Trust must always be earned. Now, as for whether it should be discreet or not, I will feel that I am more supportive of something that is discreet. Now, the reason why I'm going to say this is this. There are times wherein somebody can alter evidence when they know you want to check them out. They can go and mutilate evidence. So I've had experience wherein a lady comes for counseling and they met somebody on the internet and then the guy is saying, "No man," and I say, "You go. Don't tell the person you want to do anything. Go, first of all, go and comb this guy's social media. Scroll down on his page until maybe 3 years down. Check those that are his closest friend that he tags. Check their wall. Check and check and check. And then by the time they are checking, they are finding very, very serious things. You know, this person already has a child out of wedlock that I never mentioned and all of that. Now, some of these sources of investigation, there's a propensity for tampering, with some of this evidence when people know, especially those that have something to cover, those that have something to hide. They are likely, and they want to get you by all means by deceit. There's a possibility for them to go and mutilate evidence, if they are aware that you want to check them out. So I really feel that to that extent, I do encourage. Now, when it comes to checking family background, yes, one can say, yeah, I want to check out the family background. But of course, you are not going to tell the person the specific things you want to check. You can tell the person want to do some family background check, but you are not going to tell the person. I really feel that where the check should start from is even the person you want to marry. That is the first person to check. That's the first, before you go, because as much as the family is involved, the greatest person that you will live with is still the man you want to marry or the woman you want to marry. So I think that is the first person that needs to be checked out. And for that one, I recommend that it should be discreet. I recommend that first level of check should be discreet. Then when you now get to the family background level, then you can inform the person if he has passed the first test of his own personal life, and then you're not going to the next level of family. You can now say, want to do a family background check, but you are not going to tell the person exactly what you are going to be checking. Because if you tell the person exactly what you're going to be checking, they are going to go and window dress it so that you can be properly.
Awesome. I love that right now we have two perspectives. We have that it should be discreet to a level, and then it should be non-discreet. So from a legal perspective, Chief Adewale, what do you think? Should a premarital check be discreet or non-discreet? Or at what level do you think it should be non-discreet and discreet?
All right. Thank you, Kemi.
You're welcome, sir.
I have heard what my co-panelists have said, but I think I want to take it from a different perspective.
Okay.
When you talk about premarital background check, now before I speak as a lawyer, church, the things that we ask people to check is not just about family history and background. We also, at least in my church, Daystar Christian Center, we ask people to also check their medical history. Because we've had instances of incompatibility in genotype, which has led to a lot of problems in marriages. So when we talk of background check, it's really not just about the person, which is important, or the family, which is equally important, but also medical. Now, from that perspective, my own default position is that background check should be open and mutual. Let me explain. There's a question in the chat box. I'm sure we'll get to that question. One, Missy was asking the question why it is that background check concentrates more on men and less on women, which is the background of what I'm about to say. You should be able to talk to your partner, your intended, for both of you to carry out mutual background checks of your medicals, of everything. Now, for me, the first red flag would be that I suggest to my intended a mutual background check, and my intended feels reluctant. That should be a red flag. Because the Bible says both of them were naked in each other's presence and they were not ashamed. There ought not to be anything hidden. When you are going, like Peniel said, it's a lifelong commitment. As Christians, there is no divorce, there is no shortcut, there is no bus stop, I'm getting down. So it's important that both should agree and consent to background check. Now, if one of the partners is reluctant, then that is your red flag right there. Now, from a legal point of view, let me talk, you asked from a legal point of view. Yes, now, sir. In Nigeria and around the world, there are laws and regulations that govern the use of background checks in various sectors: employment, immigration, security clearances, and all that. But the fundamental law in Nigeria, the ground norm, as we lawyers call it, the basic law of Nigeria, is the Constitution. The Nigerian Constitution in Section 37 guarantees every Nigerian the right to private life and family. In fact, that section of the law says the privacy of citizens, their homes, their correspondence, their telephone conversations, their telegraphic communications is hereby guaranteed and protected. So any form of background check must be conducted in compliance with that provision of the Constitution. That is one law. There is another law, the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation of 2019. This provides for the safeguarding of personal data and stipulates the conditions under which personal data can be collected, can be processed, and can be stored. There is also the Nigerian Police Force Data Privacy and Protection Policy of 2020. This one governs the use, storage, and disclosure, is underlined disclosure, of data, albeit by the police force and its officers. I particularly mention this police protection policy because I've had a situation where somebody did background check using the police. And it became a lot of problem, apart from the fact that it was done in a hidden manner and all that. It's very important. So we can go on and on. There are other laws that has to do with the Civil Defense Law, the Immigration Service Act, that also protects how you can do background check. Now, therefore, for me, all these issues or legal pitfalls will be avoided if the parties to a relationship mutually agree to background check. There you set the parameters of the check and you can jointly agree on who conducts or carries out the background check, because that is also very, very important. So I belong to the school of thought that believes that background check should be, premarital background check should be done mutually. Thank you, Kevin.
Should be done mutually. Thank you so much for that observation, even from the legal perspective. So I think I'm going to straight to our MD now from the due diligence expert perspective. Should it be discreet or non-discreet? Or at what point should it be non-discreet and discreet? Oh, your mic is muted, sir.
Sorry, I'll talk from experience.
Okay.
Now, you see, background check is not about witch hunting. Background check, it's all about, the Bible says you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The first level of background check, it's even between the man and the lady. Two of you taking time to really know yourself. The first level of relationship. I see people meeting for the first day, and in a matter of week, 1 week, 2 weeks, they're already talking marriage. Well, maybe in America, I see, maybe it's only in movies that it happens, that you meet yourself on the plane, and in a matter of 1 month, you're already getting wedded. I don't think that always happens in Nigeria that way. The first point, you see, it's like I said, you start by asking questions. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your this is like? Who are your friends? You understand? Like Barrister Adeniji said, they are both, the man and the woman, they were both naked and they were not ashamed. If I don't have anything to hide, I will give you, verifiable, claims about myself. Even before you even start asking any deep question. And I tell young youths when they come to me, they say, should I tell this person about this? I say, you have to. It's better you put all your cards on the table. Once you see that this relationship is something we are planning to take beyond just casual friendship, then you put all your cards on the table. But in the process of doing it, you sense that your partner, so to speak, is really is not giving all the necessary information, or you notice that this guy, the first time I asked him about this, the information he gave, and that's the problem with lying. When you lie once, you will need to remember how you told the lie. When next somebody asks you that question, say, okay, what did I say that time? But you were saying that things were not correlating. Then you need to, it's a red flag. You understand? The issue of background check starts when you start seeing red flags. You went to visit that person and you saw a small child playing around the house. Say, oh, cute baby, whose baby is it? I say, it's my elder sister's child. She went somewhere and then he's staying with me. Then the next time you go, you still met that child. I say, is she always leaving her child with you? I say, you mean my auntie? I say, okay. He said elder sister before, now it's auntie. Now you are seeing a red flag. Sincerely speaking, there is no way you're going to confront him and you're going to get the truth. That's when background check, and it has to be discreet, because somebody lying doesn't want you to know the truth. You understand? And you have to check everything out and hold on to the truth. The Yorubas will say, search out all things and hold on to the truth. You see, marriage is not, it's a matter of till death do us part. You understand? It's not a journey of 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. We are talking about until one of the partners die legally, properly, not the other one poisoning the other one. You understand?
Yes, sir.
And for us not to get to that point, we must enter into this journey properly from the onset. But once lies, you are laying foundations of lies. There's nothing that is hidden. When you get married, everything will be thrown to the open. And suddenly you discover that your already has a child outside wedlock. Sincerely, what I tell people, now let me go personal. You know, while I was courting my wife, you know, one day she came to our family house. And for people that know me, I have this disability. And my wife said, I want to know how you actually move around without your braces. I want you to remove your brace and I want you to walk before me. Sincerely speaking, in my family, except you are my sibling or my whatever, or you have lived in our house for over 2 years. That's the only time you will see me walk without my brace. Then she said, I said, do you have to see that? She said, yes, I want to. I said, but why? She said, I just want to know. I want to know whether when I see it, I will feel somehow. And maybe I don't want surprises when we get married. You know, reluctantly, and I just told myself, I said, okay, we're going to get married. Why not let her see the way I walk without my brace? And I removed it and I walked around. I walked a little and I sat and I said, is that okay? She said, do more. And after a while, she said, it's okay. And I said, so? That was what I said that day. I said, so? She said, no, there's no so. I just want to know everything about you. I just don't want any surprises. You know? So what I'm saying in essence, Kemi, is that it can actually really be non-discreet if both of us have nothing to hide. And if you have been in courtship for like a year, yet you still keep feeling that something is not adding up, either about this lady or this guy, it's I mean, like the question somebody asked, it's only guys that you should check. No, it's both, because ladies also lie. Well, especially the ones that have had a child before. We don't want any man to know, so that it won't look like if he knows, he won't marry me. So it can go from non-discreet, but when the flags are being raised, then you can't do that, I mean, non-discreetly again. Then it has to be discreet. So I'll say non-discreet and discreet.
So we have that at a point, it can actually be discreet. Then when you probably see things that are probably not corroborating, then you make it non-discreet to be able to generate the right answer that you want. So speaking from this perspective now, we understand that carrying out background check, like Mrs. Lawson said during our first conversation, she mentioned that you will not actually you don't have to do background check if it's just a boyfriend, girlfriend. But the moment you get to realize that, okay, this is becoming serious, then it is at that point that you should consider carrying out a background check. So to Mr. Panela, sorry, at what point do you think, as a relationship coach, at what point do you think that background check should be carried out? Because, you know, there are some relationships that you're just, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend, and then he pops the ring, will you marry me, with balloons everywhere, and you actually you've not had conversation that, okay, maybe we will get married, and then the brother comes with a ring or the old flower and petals everywhere, and then it will look like, what happened? So at what point do you think, is it at the beginning of the relationship? Is it at the point where you sense that this guy is actually going to ask me out? or maybe when you're trying to pick the ashwebi, get ready for the wedding day. At what point do you actually carry out a background check?
Okay, I hope I can be heard now. Yeah, can you hear me?
Of course you can. Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, you see, the first speaker, she's of the older generation, and so she used the word where you're still boyfriend, girlfriend, that at that level is not yet time to do background check, because in their own days, at that boyfriend, girlfriend level, boundaries are still respected. Nobody is yet going there. Nobody's sleeping with each other yet, and all of that. But in our own time, even that boyfriend, girlfriend is already too far in our own generation, because for what in the general balance, that boyfriend, girlfriend already comes with a lot of intimacy and all of that. And the challenge is that the moment intimacy, sexual intimacy, and the rest of that comes in, the emotions go wild. What people call love, but which is just the issue of the romantic love, eros, would have gone wild. And when things have gone wild, many times we have found by experience that the emotions will cloud the sense of judgment and reasoning, so that people begin to now close their eyes ordinarily to what they are supposed to recognize as a red flag and be able to pull back. In other words, what am I saying is that when you have already become emotionally attached to someone, even when you see red flags out of your background check, there's a tendency for you to begin to overlook it, because you say you're already in love. Because according to the language of our generation, you're already falling in love, into the pit of love. And so we have seen many people that because they've already gotten, to that level, some already lost their virginity to the person, and they're like, oh, I want to ensure I marry the person I give my virginity to. I want to ensure he's the one I marry, or she's the one I marry. And so all the other red flags that they're supposed to see and pull back, they are not able to pull back. So my answer is that the point where background check is important, when you guys are still, I would rather use the word platonic friends. When you are just friends, nothing attached, no deep involvement and all of that. At that level, it's okay for you not to, bother yourself, because this person has not even yet disclosed intention. For a guy, it is at that point that you have gotten to when you have gotten your initial conviction that usually a guy ought to do his background check first, because it's a guy that makes the first move towards a lady. So you would have done your, during your conversation as platonic friends, you would have asked some questions at unguarded moments, just like lawyers do cross-examination. I did that a lot before I married. At unguarded moments, I'll just throw one question that you didn't expect you coming, when we are laughing, and then the answer, at that point when you didn't pre-plan that a question is coming, I'm more likely to get an accurate, an answer that is genuine, that you did not premeditate, that you did not have opportunity to tinker with, So when I throw it, I get the answer, I begin to pick it. And through that, I can begin to understand how I'm dealing with. And then I can now, go to the next level to speak to those who, if it's somebody I've not known before, to speak to the person who knows the person. What do you know about this person? And all of that. I will go on your social media again without telling you, because me, I've said that at this first level, I won't tell you all the things I'm checking. I will go and do my background check. So if I've come, and then of course, being a spiritual person, I will now go and check with the Lord too, I pray, because there are things that the physical eyes cannot see. There is only the one who can see the heart that can see. So if I've done all of that and I've come to a point where I say,
you're very right, sir.
To an extent this is safe, then I can then ask her. So when it is at the point of that asking out, that a lady should then begin ask. The reason, again, why it's still important is that if for a lady, if you begin to do a background check too prematurely, let it not be that the brother did not intend to propose, and then you now get yourself locked up in the emotional attachment. We also have some of those problems in relationships.
So this means that it's actually a two-way thing.
When somebody has already fallen in love to somebody that is not even planning to ask the person out, If somebody that just wants to just be a friend. So it is at that point when you already see clear signs and the person has made his intention clearly known that you as the woman now begin your background check. But at that point, you have not yet, I do tell people at that point, you have not started kissing, you have not started getting physically involved. The danger about that is that your emotions will explode. And when you are already emotionally attached and you are falling in love, in quotes, your eyes will not see clearly again.
And I think you've actually even answered 2 questions. You have answered 2 questions.
You still be saying, I love you, and you went that part. So that's why
I was sharing with somebody, okay. I was sharing with somebody yesterday how that the best time to actually conduct the background check is before you fall in love. So that before you enter and your common sense is no longer functioning, the check has already been done, then you are good to go. But the moment you're already in love, and I think it also answered the question of who should be checked, the man or the woman. You answered first by saying that the man should have checked the woman even before coming to ask her out in relationship or in marriage. Why the woman too should check before probably saying yes. Before the relationship starts and then the old lovey-dovey thing is already in the atmosphere. And what you just said made me realize a particular issue that happened around me. And I was asking this particular lady, okay, what happened? Didn't you see some of these signs before you guys got married and everything? And she was like, that they didn't see it coming, that it was a product of pregnancy when they were still in the relationship. And then it automatically, not like they actually planned to get married and then that time was there to carry out the necessary thing. So this is just to say that in the relationship can automatically lead to marriage by a product of sexual involvement that can actually lead to unwanted pregnancy. And because probably you don't want to carry out an abortion, then it automatically becomes a marriage. And then the red flags are automatic. And then unwanted marriage, which automatically leads to an end to any red flag that you might have been seeing or any report of a background check, because you are automatically married to this person. So this is actually going to lead me to another question, and this will go to our legal representative on this conversation. So Chief Adewale, at what point do you think that we should actually carry a background check? Do you think that it should be before you actually come to the court of law to say, oh, I do till death do us part, or while you're still getting to know each other? And also, I'm asking this question, I'm directing this question to you based on the sensitivity level of our generation. How that you saying that you want to carry out a background check on this person, is it not too early? Or maybe this person does not even have an intention to probably get married to you. We have a lot of guys that probably do not even have the intention of marriage. They just want to have relationship with you and, get off with it. But the moment you now start to talk of premarital background check, is it not going to be like a platform for them to run away? So, sir, what do you think? At what point should the premarital check be done?
All right. Thank you, Kemi.
You're welcome, sir.
I agree with Penella that even before you enter into a relationship, you should find out about your intended. He has mentioned several ways, one of which is scrubbing their social media handles and the like. But the question that I think is relevant is that even for your generation, as you have mentioned, there are people who are just, I don't want to use the word desperate, who are eager to get married. They have waited for some time, and it appears as if marriage has not smiled on them, or the possibility of marriage. So boy meets girl at that age, societal pressure, peer pressure, and they are ready to go. So when you have that kind of situation, unlike what most people do, it is important that you ask questions. The MD has said it, that look, when you are trying to form a relationship with somebody, ask questions. So at the beginning, at the get-go, you need to understand whether this character is even somebody you can live with. One of my rules of the thumb is this: if you can live with somebody when they are their worst, then you want to explore having a relationship with that person.
Wow.
Because if you have been married for as long as some of us have been married, you will discover that there is a time when love is not what carries the marriage anymore. The investment that you have put in that relationship, the time you have devoted to nurturing it, is what begins to see you through. So I believe that whether you try to come to marriage late or you are still a young person, the time to begin your questioning or your questions is even before you think, okay, maybe I want to marry this man, maybe I want to marry that woman. If you are able to cross that threshold by saying, okay, nobody is perfect, but with what I've seen about this man, with what I've seen about this woman, I'm not sure living with him or her will be a problem. Now, let us also situate the need to ask questions in what I said earlier that breaks marriages. Particularly the third one I mentioned, which is domestic violence. Now, there is no way you will be with somebody, even like you teased Ms. Lawson and I, that in our generation, Peniela teased us that in our generation, he's still boyfriend and girlfriend before anything happens. Even at that stage, somebody that easily loses their temper should show you a red flag. Somebody that does not allow you to have a say in a discussion, always interjecting, wanting his or her own view to be the dominant one, should be a red flag. So even at that level, daily conversation, texting, somebody whose phone is a no-go area to you is a red flag. These are the things that I believe should begin to determine when we say we want to begin background check. Now, formal background check will begin when, okay, this is a woman I think I want to spend the rest of my life with. This is a man I think I want to spend the rest of my life with. But on your own, like Peniela said, we need to shine our eyes from the get-go. If, for example, you look at my circle of friends, and those people there are people that you cannot take home to your mom, then that's not somebody you want to have a relationship with. If the manner of speaking of somebody is such that they just talk anyhow, that is a red flag. So I believe that formal premarital background check can happen when you are serious. But before you even get to that threshold, you should on your own
there should be an informal
be able
one.
to winnow out. Exactly.
Awesome.
Thank you for borrowing me that phrase. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I think you've been able to even shed more light on the fact that there is a formal one and there is an informal one. The informal is even from the stage where you guys are just friends. Like the case you mentioned now, a friend of mine said something one time. She said that from the way a guy closes the door of his car, you can tell if he's actually the kind of person that would beat a woman at home. Does he close it this way or he gently close it? And sincerely, you can tell this is true. Somebody said something one time as well. She said, from the way a lady presses her laptop, you can tell if she probably has anger issues or not. And as much as these things might actually seem very small, or probably we don't take note of it, they actually tell on how a a person is and how their, their reaction to things, their character, the way they take things, or probably when they are angry, how do they do things? How do they manage the situation and all of that? So for Mrs. Bumi, now I know you have been raising your hand. I know you want to say something about the fact that at what point should the premarital check be done? So I'm even now going to ask this question so you answer it together with what you wanted to say. Should the premarital check, now we have the formal and the informal one, should the two be done by yourself, or you should actually contact a third person?
Okay, so thank you very much. So I think the last speaker, Chief, actually touched on what I wanted to say, which is that there are different categories of background check. So I was referring to the formal, detailed, and thorough background check that is done formally. That's what I so that by then you are getting serious, you want it done. Of course, these days, everybody checks social media, what have you posted. You even ask your friend, who is that person? How do you know him? And so on and so forth. Those are informal background checks. I feel that at the beginning of courtship, the male and female do about themselves. So I wasn't referring to those. What I was referring to formal background check, where you are checking out the guy, his office, his family, where they live, where they are from, generational stories or history about the family. So when it comes to that type of detailed formal background check, I feel is when you start to get serious. And getting serious, I will leave Penela to define what he means by what he said. Who should now do it? I would say that the informal one can be done by the parties that are courting. So you want to check their Facebook, you want to check their website, you want to check all the various things that they put out there in the public, because you know that it is them. You want to ask a few of your friends too, because there must be a way you met the person. Hopefully, even if it's on social media, you would have searched to be sure that who are the friends that know him. Because one of the two is to say, okay, I've seen this guy, his friends. Do I know any of his friends? And if you find that some of people that know him are your own friends, you will ask questions. So that information is done by either party. But the more thorough, detailed one, I would advise that you contact a firm like BCI that is professional and knows how to handle such background checks professionally. And even though it's non-district, it still has to be done professionally so that the people don't feel they are under an interrogation or police investigation. It needs to be done professionally, with understanding and also covering all the areas that you may be interested in. So I typically feel that the formal detailed one could be done by a family member, because I think it gives some cover sort of to the couple so that both of them don't feel as if, it's because you don't trust me. I just sort of feel like it's an excuse anyway. That's just an advice. There's no family member. Nothing says that either party should not carry out hire a third person actually do the investigation. So those advice depending on the type of background that is done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that contribution. And then we're not going to go to my MD now. And speaking on the formal and the informal background check. So we already understand that the formal one, the informal one is the one you do by yourself, even from the start point of the relationship, or even when you guys are still friends. But the formal one is the one that is carried out by a professional body, a third party, away from either you or your to-be significant other. So to Mr. Kola Olubodi, somebody asked a question in the chat box. Can we hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
Yes, I can. Okay. Yes, I can hear you now, Kevin. All right. Maybe while I'm waiting for Kemi, at least I got the first question is that at what junction should it be done? And then I also saw a question in the chat box also, somebody asking, so who does it? Is it the couple or is it something that they are going to give to a third party? All right, Kemi, I can hear you.
Oh,
Are you
thank
trying?
you. Sorry for the network glitch. So I was asking that can it be done? Can Background Check International Limited conduct premarital check on somebody that is outside the country? And I think this is even a very good question in a generation where we have a lot of our brothers and sisters and brethren, relocating outside Nigeria. I think it is even much more expedient that the question is asked. And seeing that you are the professional one here concerning premarital background check, can Background Check International Limited conduct premarital background check on somebody outside Nigeria?
All right, thank you so much. Background Check International does every background check across the world, not only in Nigeria. And you know what makes it so easy for us is that we belong to associations, and one of them is Professional Background Screeners Association, which is an international association. So when you give a job to us, all we need to do is to partner with another background check company in any part of the world, and they do the things on the ground. Unless you can pay us a lot of millions, and then we can always travel to do it by ourselves. But because you won't pay that much, then we partner with other background checks companies. So to answer the question directly, yes, it is possible to do it even beyond Nigeria. And if you ask me, it's even more important if it's something happening. If it's you are in Nigeria, you met online, and somebody is proposing to you, it's very, very key that you even need to start doing background check even almost from the onset, because you are talking to a stranger and you need to have all those necessary facts so that there are no surprises. So it can be done. And then to the initial question you asked, that at what junction should it be done? The truth is, depending on who the person you're going to be getting involved with is. If it's somebody you know to a relatively large extent, you understand. Now, what you may not know is going to be more like the medical side, or maybe more about the family side. And that's what you need to probe. Like it has been said severally, it's not until most times it's maybe if you are relating with a stranger, is a stranger, yes, you must do background check. You understand? But if it's somebody that we went to secondary school together, we went university together, we grew up on the same street, all those things, what you will do will be minimal, And when do you start? Background check starts right from the first time you both meet yourselves. It starts from the time of you, and it's not, when I say background check, there is that native intelligence one, that is that, and there is that informal one, which is not the one you will outsource to BCI. The ones you are asking questions and you can corroborate by yourself, and all those things. But when it's beyond those things, that's when you can outsource it to a company that does background check. But when it comes to character issues, you are relating with somebody, like somebody told me she was talking to the guy she was in relationship with, and the discussion got hot at a point, and the guy raised his hands,
Hmm.
and the lady said,
Red flag.
do you want to beat me? And then he came to his senses that what will I, what, like he said it Yoruba, uh, what did I get you? What did I eat to the point that my head has turned that I will beat you? Of course, they ended up marrying, and from the third month, that hand that went up came down,
Hmm.
and it comes down at any moment that either she says something wrong or she misbehaves. It treats her just like you would treat an housemaid, or like some people treat housemaids, just beating at every time. You must note all those red flags, note them, and if you need to meet with a friend to help you get information on the character of this person, you need to do all those things. But when you discover that many things are not adding up, and something in you is desiring this guy, then you need to really go to very in-depth background check that BCI can do for you. You understand? You know, for instance, when I started eyeing my wife, even before I spoke to her, I already knew some issues since we were friends. And in actual fact, please always marry your friend. Learn to first be friends before you become husband and wife. Because we were friends, I knew some of the issues. I knew the one that was medical. You understand? I knew the one that has to do with genotype. And because even before I proposed to her, because I knew her genotype, I had to go and do my own. So I'm so sure that by the time I come back, if it's something that can work, I can now say, oh, okay, would you marry me? You understand? So I don't know whether I've answered your question.
Yes, you have answered
The
my
background
question.
check is, I'll call it due diligence. So let me say background check. You paying attention to every detail. You will know how a man is going to, how does he spend his money? You know, I went with one of my friends to, we went somewhere. This guy didn't have money. He was always begging for money. And suddenly we got to a place and said, oh, let's go to the restaurant. And we got there and he was ordering everything. And it just occurred to me that maybe somebody sent money to this guy, or something just happened and he got money and he's spending it at one sitting like this. I was going to go into business with him and I told him, I'm not going to partner with this guy. You understand? So, so let me rest it like that, Kemi.
In fact, even before you rest it, somebody asked a question in the chat box saying that is there like a guide or a checklist when it comes to background check on premarital when it comes to premarital checks? Is there like a checklist that you do?
You know, when it comes to checklist, let me talk about the informal one.
So before you answer the question, let me add this one to it so that you just help us in answering together. I said, what is the cost implication of the background check? If the cost is high, hope it won't be a discouragement.
All right, that one is very easy for me. What is the cost of you marrying and then the thing, breaking up in a matter of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months? What is the cost of that? What is the cost of spending like 20 million for your wedding? What is the cost of traveling to Dubai and everywhere for your honeymoon? And then at the end of the day, the wedding or the marriage didn't go 6 months. What is the cost? What is the cost of the heartbreak? What is the cost of two families that were embracing themselves at the engagement, now becoming enemies because their children also broke up. What is the cost of that? You understand? I'm saying that so that before you start making costs to be what will hinder you, and I'm not saying that our cost is throat cutting. What I'm telling you is that anything you do in form of background check is an investment into your future. Do you understand? What is the cost of you getting married and then you discover that this guy had given like 3-4 girls, they were pregnant for him, he has 4 children outside, and now he married you? What's the cost of you now discovering that you already have like your child to be is going to have like 4 steps brothers even before coming into the world? What's the cost of that? So those are the things you need to value for you to know that running background check is not, you don't just take it like, if it's convenient, I will do it. Do you understand? So I think that one is so easy for me. And then, yes, it's to the degree of what you want to check that will determine what background check, BCI will do for you. The location of the man, the places where he has schooled, everything about him. So it's to the scope that we determine the cost, and people are doing it. So that means it's not something that it's going to be difficult so much for you. Now you asked the first question now, which the second question had made me to forget.
Oh, okay. I talked about the checklist, and I think you've also answered that as well.
All right.
You were talking
Okay.
about the formal and the informal one, and I think you've also spoken on that. Thank you so much, sir. So I'm going to ask Chief now. Somebody asked a question, and I think it's very, very crucial. Even taking a clue from where you started the conversation from about the number of divorce rates that we have and what have you. So the person said that I agree that premarital background check is important before marriage. But how about issues that arises during midlife crisis? By this, I mean, what if either party changes completely along the line, or maybe so the person does not have these traits before now, and the moment you get married to them, you begin to see some traces that can actually probably lead to the increase in the divorce rate. What should be done?
Okay, thank you, Kemi. Now, when we got married, one of my uncles called my wife and I. By the way, we got married in 1990.
Awesome. Wow.
One of my uncles called us and said, no prophet, no pastor can tell you what will happen in 6 months' time. But what will happen in 6 months' time depends on both of you. What you want your life to be, how you want your marriage to turn out. Now, he said that to us because he was trying to tell us that apart from God, nobody determines what happens in a marriage other than the parties in the marriage. So when you do background check before you get married, I can tell you from experience of having been married for a long time and being a counselor in church, that life happens. The things that you did not discover either through background check or the things that you never thought possible could happen. And that's life. So in navigating what happens after you are married, navigating it successfully will depend on the foundation that you and your spouse had created for each other. If it's a medical condition that happens subsequently, there's nothing anybody can do about that. But what we will have signed up for will have been in sickness and in health till death do you part. So if it's a medical challenge that has affected how either party functions, there is nothing you can do other than to seek the best medical care for the partner and to be prayerful about it. I know this is not a church setting, but that's my own solution. What if it becomes a character flaw that no amount of check discovered, or maybe it became an habit that he or she picked up after marriage? What to do is to seek counsel. There are counselors, faith-based counselors, there are non-faith-based counselors. So whichever you feel comfortable with is what you should do. Because, like a relative of mine said many years ago, in trying to counsel his son before he got married, he used the illustration of an adogon, I don't know the English translation now, with firewood in it.
Local stove.
And he said to my cousin, thank you, sir. And he said to my cousin, you want to cook beans on this local stove, and you have stoked it with your firewood, and the fire is blazing, and you are like, oh, within a few hours, my beans should be cooked. And all of a sudden, you discover that, hang on a minute, one of the wood is now, rather than bringing out fire, is now bringing out smoke. You remove it. You discover again that another of the wood is crooked, not straight enough for your liking. You remove it. He said you will be there for days and your beans will not be cooked. Now, why have I used this native intelligence? Whatever happens in a marriage that from the question began well, and now something has happened, maybe life has happened, you can only manage it. Now, I know that people who are not faith-based would rush to say, look, that's the end of the marriage, I'm walking away. But if your goal is the kingdom, I'm sorry, I'm going spiritual now. If your goal is the kingdom, like Peniella said, there's nothing like divorce. So the best thing you can do is to approach counselors that can help you walk through that session. Now, one problem I find with people of faith is that we like to do what I call spiritual bypassing. What does that mean? You know there is a problem. Your spouse knows there is a problem. But rather than confront the problem, you are there quoting scripture to each other. It will not solve, the problem will not go away. So people who counsel, either faith-based or non-faith-based, should be people you go to. You cannot say because you are in the middle of your marriage, the problem happens, then maybe the background check did not work. No, no, no. Life happens and stuff happens. So when it comes to that, you are in the middle of the ocean, you cannot say you are going to sink the ship. You have to make sure you tie the ship to the next port. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, sir, for that light. And I must really commend your perspective. And I think it's something that my generation also needs to look into, how that putting yourself in a situation where, let's say, for example, you are in a room without a door and without a window. What would you do? You would, and there is a fire, you would put in all the effort to actually put off the fire, not trying to look for an escape route. And I think so as not to put ourselves in a situation where you actually find yourself in such a room, then is the reason why we're having this conversation today. Thank you so much, sir. So this next question is going to Mrs. Lawson. And the fact that you are the only woman on this panelist session and a mother, what do you think should be the reaction when you get a report of a background check as a mother? If, let's say, for example, the result is not positive and, you know, a daughter is involved now, a son is involved. Yours might be the son, yours might be the daughter, but in such situation, you know, the other guy and the lady, they are already in love. How do you navigate this as a parent? Having a report that is either positive or negative. Thank you.
Okay. So of course, if the result is positive, there's no issue. Everybody is happy. And of course, marriage will go on smoothly. You will be happy that, it was a positive report. But I would say that in all families or, persons, there is nobody that is perfect. So the tendency is that when you see, get your report, there will be a few bad things and of course, a lot of good things. Hopefully that's the best kind of report. So to me, it depends on the issue that you find. And I liked one of the questions that somebody asked, that what are those things that will not go ahead at all, or those things that you will still continue depending on how bad it is. So, and then I saw another person also asked that, if somebody comes from a broken, for instance, is that a no, not go ahead? So to me, it depends on individual preference and their culture and their beliefs, because that's what really affects your relationship when you get married. So let's say maybe in your family, they said it's a taboo for you to marry somebody who comes from a broken home, and you go ahead, those will continue to be issues. So each person has to decide what is so serious for them. Now, some of the things that I will say will be a deal breaker. Hopefully you find out before it's too late. So some of the things that may be a deal breaker, for instance, would be a history of domestic abuse, where you find out that whether the wife or the man, the couple themselves, are involved in, have beaten somebody, have been arrested for domestic violence and things like that. Then also, I would also say a criminal background. God forbid that we find out that the person has been charged to court or for something, for murder, for violence, for theft, drugs, all those kind of issues. I feel that those are sort of deal breakers. You don't want to associate yourself with that. Unless yourself, I drug baron, maybe. But the issue is those are deal breakers. Now, some of the things that are borderline, when it comes to medical, so I've always wondered, thank God I pray that we are not in those kinds of things, If someone can do a medical test and it now sees some health issues, to me, I don't know that should be it depends on the health issue anyway. Of course, if it's like HIV or AIDS and you don't have it, then, I don't think there's even still treatment yet. But let's say like now you go and do the test and then you find out that you have cancer, for instance. Is that the reason why the husband or the wife should now say, sorry, I'm not going ahead? Because what kind of love is it when it is only when it is good, but when there's so I feel that maybe the wedding may not go on, but at least we try and still be there to support the person through the treatment of that ailment. So I think we need to be careful about, we shouldn't come out as if we are looking for the best, the rosiest, and that love is not sacrificial. There's some extent that love is sacrificial, but please, that doesn't mean too that you are sacrificing the whole thing. So that's why I said that for each person, it depends on the balance. So for health issues, so if it's not HIV and all those kind of things, then also the other one is if the person is AS, so that means there's a risk that the child will be sickle cell. Now, some families will say, or even churches will say that's the end. I think a lot of churches, even maybe mosque and all of that, will say that's the end. I just feel that medicine has gotten to an advanced stage now that AS and AS can prevent having sickle cell, with IVF and all that. But of course, you have to tell yourself, okay, can I afford or bear the cost of those kinds of treatments? So those are issues that you have to, if you know that you can't, You don't want the issue of around sickle cell. Even sickle cell now has some treatments. There's stem cell that actually reverses sickle cell. But all these are very, very, very expensive medical treatments. Are you able to carry that burden? You have to ask yourself. So of course, if you are Okoya's child, you can, you know that you can afford it. So those may not be issues. But if you are Babarisi and so on, you cannot afford those kinds of treatment. So it depends on the personal circumstance. So I think those reports need to be taken seriously. You go through the issues that come up and decide, can I take it? Don't just say, okay, I'm going to take it because I am in love and so on and so forth. And love is sacrificial, love is clinical, and then you are there suffering. That's not what marriage is supposed to be. But I also feel that don't also just take the easy way around. Red flag. They are just running for things that are small. So you need to be able to weigh the two. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that balance, because we are also in a generation where we are quick to dispose things. Just like Chief Adewale said, he mentioned that if you're using a local stove to cook and you're saying this wood is not good, you remove it. This wood is not good, you remove it. You are going to be there till you're 40 or 45, and then menopause is knocking on your door. So the report might not be too good, or it might be probably not as you want it. But if it is actually not a deal breaker, then it is something that can actually be worked around. But if it is something that actually involves life and death, or you've counted your cost and you feel like with this costing you might not be able to build life with this person, then you make your decision. So speaking on making decision, you've spoken as a mother and also as a woman, but Mr. Fanela, what do you think in a situation where you have the reports in your hand and you feel it's something that you have counted the cost and you feel you can actually, you can bear it, but your parents are saying, no way, we will not agree? As a relationship coach, I believe over time I've measured between conversations between parents and children when it comes to marriage. The lady is the one in love. The guy is the one in love, is the one that has seen the depth and the highs and the low and is ready to go into relationship irrespective of the deal breaker or the cost of some issues in the background check report. What do you think parents should do? Should parents agree to the decision of their children, or what do you think can be done in such situation? I don't know if you get my question. Your mic is muted, sorry. Your mic.
Okay, now, yes, I get your question. Okay, I will speak to both sides.
Okay.
Children, those who want to get married, there's an adage that says that what an elder we see sitting down. Sometimes those of us that are young, if we climb a tree, we will still not see. Experience is not useless. The wisdom of the elders must not be flippantly discountenanced. So where there is such disagreement as to the seriousness of whatever has been found, wisdom is important in order to iron it out. Number one, the young person should also consider carefully the points, the reasons that have been raised by the parents. It's very important to consider it carefully, to think it through. Then, if there is need to also get godly counsel, and I am very careful about talking about counsel, because counsel can also be negative. You can also go and get counsel from the wrong source and you are misled. Godly and matured counsel. So, but if you, after you have done all of that, your careful check, your humble consideration, and I emphasize the word humble consideration, if you see that the parents have, the point they have raised is wise, please succumb. Please submit to the wisdom, because at the end of the day, now you go enter the thing. If you are breaking bottle later, even though the parents' heart will be broken, it will affect their peace, but ultimately you are the greatest loser in this whole thing. But if after all the things that they have raised, you have considered it deeply, prayerfully, with humility, with godly counsel, and you feel that the perspective of the parent is not really accurate, or maybe they are operating from the angle of fear, because I have a lot of such cases that I'm handling. At the moment, I have a couple like that, a couple that they are in courtship, and we have been on it for over a year now. It's been a battle.
Wow.
The parents are overly agitated. They are always the prophet kind people. Prophet is saying this now. And every one of us, I am very close to the couple. They are not married. They submit some mentorship stuff. The two of them are born again, they love the Lord and all of that. And they are passionate for the truth, passionate to obey the word of God, passionate. I have been in close proximity with them. The parents of the lady, they are the ones agitated. We don't see everything that is making them afraid. We cannot see it. We cannot see it, and so there is a lot of clash. So if after all of that, and you feel that the parents are overly agitated, then one can now also look for those they respect. That's another thing that can be done. Those they respect, maybe their own pastors, their elders, and people that they can talk to them. So such couple can also approach such people and discuss with them. Say, these are the issues, these are the issues. What do you think, sir? If the elders agree with you, help us talk to our parents and all of that. So, but the extreme counsel, I don't want to give it. We have a lot of parents here, but I have seen cases where parents remained, with all respect and humility, they took things too far. Despite the fact that the couple has given them the due respect, they did not ignore. They took all the steps, and the parent remained, unnecessarily and unreasonably recalcitrant on the matter. I'm careful of what I say, and and these children, their life is stuck. We have had situations whereby people have had to go ahead with their convictions regardless, because at the end of the day, even though the counsel of the elders, the parents is important, and I've emphasized it, but again, most of the time, the child, it is also the right life of the child to live. So again, I also want to counsel the parents that we should also not overdo. We should not overdo, so that, because sometimes even the parents can be wrong, because even in the Holy Book it is said that the elder age does not always translate to wisdom. Elderly people too can get their judgment right. So something quite complex, but I guess that is how to find a way around it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the contribution. And I must say that you've been able to address both the children and the parents. And I believe that with this slide, they'll be able to come to an understanding on which way to go, because the blessing of the parents is as important, and also the decision of the children are also very important. And I hope that they find a middle ground to come to, and then we can come and eat rice and chicken at their wedding. Okay, so I think we're rounding off now. So this is going to go to Chief Adewale. You mentioned 3 major reasons why the rate of divorce is actually on the high side these days. You spoke about the financial stress, you spoke about sexual depravity, and you spoke about domestic violence. So when we put these 3 together and a report of a background check comes out, and let's take, for example, and we have believers here who believe that sex should not happen before marriage, but rather when you get married. So somebody asked the question that says that as a Christian who is actually not permitted to have sex before marriage, and sex is a large part of the incompatibility rate that you mentioned, it says that how can it be managed when situations like this begin to occur in the marriage? Because take, for example, for financial stress, it is something that you can actually check when you're carrying out a background check. You want to know the credit history of this person. How does this person spends money? What is the credit history? How much is this person owing this bank? Is it robbing Peter to pay Paul? You can get those things from a background check. When it comes to domestic violence, you can, infiltrate. You can filtrate that in when you talk about background check. But when it comes to sexual issues, this is something that a lot of time it is been known when you enter into the marriage. What should be done? How can issues like this be managed? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Kemi.
You're welcome, sir.
There is, when you talk about sexual incompatibility, it has nothing to do with whether people abstain before marriage or not.
Thank you, sir.
And let me explain it. I had said that apart from background check as to the person and their families, we should also carry out a medical background check. A medical background check, for example, will show when it comes to sexuality or sex or the ability to procreate, many things. One, whether the man is capable of having an intercourse with his wife when he eventually marries, whether the woman has, how's it called, the ability to procreate, or the damage has been done to the womb. So when you do those things, medical checks, and don't forget I had said it has to be mutually agreed, the parties would get the result and discuss. If it's a matter of impotency, the couple need to agree. Okay, this is the report. Can we cope with this? What will be the options or the alternative of rearing children? What pressures are we going to face? And things like that. Now, when it comes to after marriage, and somebody who had been sexually or medically proven to be sexually potent, all of a sudden loses that potency. Or somebody who had been certified capable of bearing children, all of a sudden is not conceiving. That it is no longer a case of you hid this from me because you will have gone past that stage. It becomes a problem that has to be sorted within the institution of marriage. Now, when I was giving you the statistics of divorce petitions, and I mentioned sexual compatibility or deviance as one of the reasons, in at least 3 of those cases that I know, the reason that the woman has petitioned for dissolution of that marriage was because she never knew that her husband was impotent. The guy said because they were both Christians, there ought not to be copulation before marriage. The lady agreed, but after marriage, she discovered that it was actually impotence that he covered up. Now, when it comes to sexual deviation, it is not unlikely, and it happens, that the person, either of the party that hidden their sexual preferences before marriage, which any background check cannot catch, which even a medical examination cannot catch, and now wants to use the marital bed to begin to carry out those deviant practices. I'll give an example without mentioning names. In one of the cases, the lady was the one who petitioned for dissolution of the marriage and said that her husband cannot get it up until he beats her.
Wow.
That he needs to see her in pain for him to be able to carry out the sexual act. That is sexual deviation. or deviance, sorry. So in those cases, you cannot blame background check because it's not something background check will have caught. So when the sexual problems happen in a marriage, the couple must seek help of competent people who can walk them through the problem. It is better if the problem manifests not because you hid it. Because if you had hidden it pre-marriage, it means that you lied to marry that person, which in itself destroys the foundation of any trust that can exist in that marriage. So when sexual issues happen after marriage, which were not there before, or which manifested after marriage, the solution is not to dissolve the marriage. Because I keep telling people that, okay, you dissolve this marriage. Let me give another example. This happened live in church. In a church. I won't mention the name of it, not my church, but in a church. That brother used the fact that his wife hid the fact that she had had several abortions before they got married, used that to harass that woman into giving him a divorce. He went ahead and married another person, but still did not procreate. After 5 years of begging the man, appealing to him, the wife eventually moved on, married somebody else, and within 18 months, got a set of twins.
Wow.
So really and truly, whatever happens in the institution of marriage, the easiest and cheapest way out is for you to seek to blame the other party. But the realistic and reasonable thing to do is to seek counsel and work it out. Now, when it comes to financial stress, pre-marriage, I think one of the panelists mentioned the fact that somebody, I think it was even the MD, lied to his wife that he went to this university, that school, had the certificate, which eventually turned out to be false. Now, from the get-go, the economic prospects of that person is hindered. So if the lady had not found out and gone ahead to marry this guy, he would not be able to assist the family financially. Because such people who procrastinate also have the tendency to be lazy. I'm sorry, I'm not generalizing, but that's what I've experienced, I've realized. So if it's financial stress, the point is, if you didn't catch it before you got married, was it that he lost his job after he got married, which could have happened to anybody? What other options are you exploring? Losing your job might even be your own avenue to greatness because you now become your own employer, you become an entrepreneur. Long story. So you need also to situate the issue of the financial stress. Now, the one that I find I cannot live with is that of domestic violence. See, it is not unlikely that that brother, like I think it was MD who used that illustration, who raised his hand up, wanting to slap your face, but changed it. It's not unlikely he would do it when you get married. That sister, who you cannot talk to, who is so stubborn that it's only what she wants that will happen, that is a red flag. And the things that cause domestic violence in marriages is not, you can't find it other than those things that are manifesting when you are courting. So for me, the issue of domestic violence is not something I can abide. You know why? Somebody who is that violent, who takes pleasure in other people's pain, it is unlikely that they are completely cured of that ailment. And I find it as an ailment. So for me, as a person, it is better you discover that and nip it in the bud, no matter the quote and unquote love that is shacking both of you. It is not something that anybody should live through. Trust me honestly, because it dehumanizes the victim. The victim is unable to live a productive life because they will always live in fear they can't form good social relationships. So it is a no-no for me. The sexual easing and the financial can be dealt with, even within marriage. But I would rather a situation where if you think this person has a violent streak, you run, like we say in my time, 440 away from that person. Thank you, Kemi. Kemi, you are muted. You are muted, Kemi.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, I said thank you so much for your perspective, and I must say that it is very, very cogent that people begin to understand that some things can actually be dealt with within the confine of marriage. But when it comes to anything that involves domestic violence, this is something that should not be taken lightly, because we've seen different reports over time leading to the death of one of the parties, and when death is involved, there's no questioning. The person is not allowed to defend his or herself. You are not there to, your children are there, they will now have to be raised by another mother or father. In situations like that, it is not even meant to be debated. I think it is just important that you state it out clearly. If it is for you to run, like you just said, please run. Anything that looks like it. Because taking from the example that Mr. Olubodi gave, from somebody raising his hand, anyone who has the capacity to raise their hands in relationship will definitely bring it down when you enter marriage. So it is just important that we draw the line, know when it is no longer in love, know when life is now involved. You have dreams, you have aspirations, you have what you want, you have what you want to become in life. Your parents have been training you and giving you the best of things for you to become somebody, not to end up with somebody who will probably end your life. I believe this is a word that I would say that is enough for the wise. If you're in a relationship that you know that is abusive, I've seen people who, when I was in school, one of my hostel mates happened to have somebody who she was dating at the time, and trust me, any small thing you will hear beating from the room. The moment we start hearing shout and everything, we already know where this is coming from. And this is just somebody that you are in school, you are even feeding the person. And it is so amazing that this is even still happening today, when you're not being forced, you are not being coerced. And anything that even involves such in the first place is something that you should run away. Don't think you can manage it. Don't think you can change the person. And Mr. Vanilla, I even want you to speak to this. You know, some people will be like, oh, I will change the person when we probably get into a relationship or when we get married. Chief Adewale mentioned that you should run 440. But as a relationship coach, I believe you would have seen experience of, you would have had the experience of people saying, I can change the person will change. I would, work on the person, we will do therapy, we will do this and that, and the person will change. What do you think about that? Should that be looked into as well?
Okay, thank you very much. Full answer is that whatever change that wants to happen should happen before marriage. Okay. So that's a simple answer. Whatever change should happen before marriage, because the moment you enter into marriage, you have entered into, because sometimes the change also depends on the cooperation of the person that wants to change, because nobody can be forcefully changed. It will require a lot of discipline, a lot of submission to even the therapy and whatever that needs to be done, and you cannot guarantee that the person will submit to it, especially when he has gotten what he's looking for. So the fact that he has not gotten what he's looking for is another motivation for him to, or her, him or her, as the case may be, to submit to the rigors of whatever rehabilitation he needs to go through. So the man has gotten what he's looking for, he will be relaxed, or she will be relaxed. So the best time to do any correction on anything that you have seen already that is as serious as this is before marriage. So that if it doesn't work, you can run 440 like Chief said.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just wanted to put that question out there, because a lot of people will be that like, I will change him, I will change her. Oh, he will change. He loves me, so he will change. In some situations, reverse is actually the case. They end up not changing because they've been able to acquire what they want. and there is no reason, no motivation, no drive for them to actually work on those issues. So the best thing is that they change before you fully get into lifelong decision with them. And I think that is just it. So the last question is going to go to MD, Mr. Kola Olugbodi. Somebody asked in the comment section that in case after the background check is done and the marriage still breaks up after 6 months, does background check guarantee a perfect marriage? So this person is saying that after I've done background check, I'm done. Then let's just enter into the marriage. Does it validate a perfect marriage? Does it mean that there's not going to be a divorce or a separation or what have you? As an expert.
All right. Thank you, Kemi. Conducting background check is not equal to you becoming playing the role of God. You understand? Background check is not that after that, in fact, go and sleep, nothing is going to go wrong. You understand? And then, of course, if there are things that you have noticed in the course of courtship and there are red flags and you are not paying attention to them, you understand? Those things can really become monsters during your marriage. Background check can give you information on whether he attended any higher institution or not. Background check can give you information on whether he worked in the places where he claimed to have worked or not. Background check can give you information on whether he has criminal record or not. Background check can give you information on his credit report. Background check can give you references on what friends say, what neighbors say, what his old colleagues say, or she, I mean, not he alone, she. If I'm using he, just know that it can be vice versa. You understand? Yes, background check, we can do character check on the guy. We can do reputation check to know what are the issues that people always have with him, what are those character traits that may become issues in his marriage. You understand? But like some of the things my co-panelists have said, if it's a medical thing, you won't know. And there are some people that can hide almost anything. And then it's going to be during marriage that they will now bring out their true colors. Of course, such people are people that are aware of the fact that the other party may be conducting investigations on them or running some due diligence on them. So they have perfected almost all their tracks. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
And then they end up in marriage and suddenly there are such issues. So what I'm saying in essence is that if I'm going to put percentage there, background check can give you some, maybe the hidden information about the person, maybe 70%, maybe 80%. But the real work actually is in the hands of one of the parties. You are the one that's going to probe. You're the one that's going to ask questions. You understand? In actual fact, it's some of those things that you have said that eventually will need to really work on in the course of background check. Background check is claims verification. So if there are not some things you have noticed, because if you want to use us, get our service, we're going to ask you, what have you noticed? What are the things you want us to, so don't just say, go and check everything. What have you noticed? You understand? Those are some of the things. So we're going to question you also to know some of the things. Have you seen some red flags? Are you seeing some things that you feel like some things are not adding up? So what is not adding up? That is what we are going to use. So what do we add to see what is not adding up here? Do you understand? So background check is not, if he has medical issues, background check can't bring that out. So one of the last thing I will say, I know we are wrapping up, is that considering the high rate of divorce, of husband or wife killing the other person, of emotional breakdown, depression being high, everybody needs to play a lot of role when it comes to premarital counseling, premarital, the parents also helping to ask questions. I may be wrong, but I think we are coming to a generation where the parents are not even, once this one say, this boy I want to marry. I say, if that's what you want to marry, it's okay. If that's what you want to marry, it's okay. I don't think it's okay. Parents ask questions. It's your responsibility over your child to make sure they get it right. Of course, you are not going to dictate to them, but that's why you are an elder. That's why you have experience beyond them. Try to guide them. And then, of course, you can't be asking the person you are in relationship with, sorry, I don't know how to say it in English. How can a woman be asking the man, Sholeche? You understand? Are you potent or impotent? The only thing that can help, and that's why I give credit to churches. I don't know whether some mosques do it. When they get involved and they persuade the male and the female to go run medical checks. You do genotype check, you do R something check, you even do pregnancy check, you understand? So, and they are not even the ones that will say this is the report, so that you won't go and do it yourself and tell them to write the report. They tell them, go to this designated hospital or designated test lab, and the report is sent to the church, not to those people. So we need to all be involved, and we can really curtail some of these disheartening things that we keep seeing happening, most especially in the marriages of young couples of this day. Thank you, Kemi.
Thank you so much, sir, for that light. And I think that's one thing about when a professional is speaking, you've been able to share more light. And I think that is actually what we need. The fact that carrying out a background check is not an opportunity to now fold your arm. You still have to do the work. When the report is on your table, what are your decisions? The background check will only bring the report to you. What do you do when it comes to analyzing the report? Are you counting the cost? Even after you have counted your costs, are you sure you want to go ahead? Because as I want to believe, sir, as much as possible, you actually provide the background check reports, not stating whether you should leave this person or go ahead with this person. Sir, am I right?
No, background check is not about you giving recommendations. You understand? Background check is about saying, this is white, this is black, that one is yellow. We are the one that will make your decisions. You understand? Even if you ask me, I won't tell you. If I say this guy had killed 5 people before, every wife that he has married, they have to run away, and everything. Then I gave you the report, and you said, I'm in love, I'll still marry him. It's okay.
Then I feel with that, the onus is on you to actually make your decision. So thank you so much, sir. And I believe we've been having a great time. Trust me, I've been having the best time of my life with this conversation. And I think it is just important that we understand that as much as possible, background check, premarital background check is in the same class as medical check. The same way you want to be sure that this person is AS and I'm AS, so we can't, or this person claims to be AS and I am AS, then I have to be sure that you are truly not AA, or you're truly AA and not AS. We've had series of people say, oh, I'm AA, I'm AA, and then you go into a relationship with them, probably at the point of premarital counseling in church, and then you have to do check. This is something that has happened in real life, like a first-hand occurrence. This happened to somebody that I know. It was at the point of premarital counseling in church that they actually requested that they go and run their medical test, and then they realized that, oh, this person that has been claiming AA is actually AS. And the other party has always been bold about the fact that I'm AS or I'm AA. So in the same category that we put medical check is the same category that we should put premarital check. They are in the same WhatsApp group. So, and that's actually one of the reasons why I'm excited about this webinar, because this is actually really shedding light to this issue, because I feel it is something that has really been silent. We will no longer be silent about it, because now we now have a much and better understanding on the benefits and even the other side of it. When it is not being carried out, we now know the benefits, and we now know the problems that can come out if it is not being checked. Thank you so much. So for this last call, we're going to be having our final notes, and then I'm just going to give us one minute to give our final notes. We'll start from Mrs. Bumilosing, then we'll go to Mr. Paniela, we'll go to Chief Adewale, and then the MD will wrap it up for us. One minute. Thank you, Ma and Sas. Mrs. Bumi. Okay, while we wait for her, I think we'll just go straight to Mr. Paniela. Are you there? Hello?
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. Oh, beautiful. Your final note in 1 minute.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Just that we can't see your face.
Oh, okay. Just sorry. All right. I think you can see my face.
We can see you and we can hear you now.
Yeah. So, well, my own final word, because this discussion really affects married the most. My own final word is that for everyone who have participated in this interaction, it is not the hearers that will be blessed, but the doers of the work. So a lot of wisdom has been communicated. Please let everybody take this to heart. And if there is any marriage that is as they have even picked the date, and the marriage is not supposed to hold, let us be courageous to put it on hold. Because somebody said, the opposite of happiness in marriage is not unhappiness, but depression.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paniela. We really appreciate your final words. Mrs. Bumi, are you there? Can we have you now? Okay, while we wait for her, I think we'll just go straight to Chief Adewale. Your final notes, sir.
All right, thank you, Kemi. Thank you, Background Check International, for putting this together. It is my hope that those who are on this call and those who are watching it live on YouTube will find this 2 hours, 46 minutes rewarding. My final note is that overall, a background check can be a useful tool in premarital relationships. But I sincerely believe it should be used responsibly. I also belong to the school of thought that it should be by mutual consent after an open and honest communication with your partner. I believe that most of the problems that marriages encounter these days can be caught early if premarital background check is done. Let's be open about it. Let's be honest about it. And trust me, honestly, you can deceive a man or a woman to marry you, but deceit cannot keep them in that marriage. Thank you so much, Kemi.
Thank you so much, sir, for that awesome contribution. So now we'll go to Mrs. Bumila Wansin. I don't know if she's here now.
Awesome. I think she had left, so don't worry.
Oh, okay. So,
Oh,
she's back. Okay.
No, sorry.
We can't hear you clearly, ma'am.
Hello?
Oh, okay. We can hear you now.
I said she's gone in for another meeting.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, not a problem. Thank you so much, Ma. So, okay, we're going to go on with our MD now to give us his own final notes regarding this webinar.
All right, thank you so much, Kemi, and I want to thank everyone that has been a part of the webinar. And of course, most of you have stayed with us up until now. We don't take it for granted. It only shows how much you really want to learn from what we are discussing. I really appreciate it so much. Now, what I'm just going to say is that we really need to, like there's an adage that says when you see somebody carrying an heavy load and then the load is bent, and you say, why is your load? Why is it that what you are carrying is bent? And the person says, oh, you are looking at my head, you should be looking at my legs. And then the person has K legs. So obviously, if there is K leg, then the thing will bend. So if you don't make your own marriage to be the specimen for others to say, see, I don't want it to be like that. Learn from what you've already seen from other people's marriages that are not working, that are breaking down, and you are seeing those domestic violence. Let's use that as a springboard to say, no, I will make sure I enter into my own relationship knowing who my partner really is. You understand? And when it needs to be that I need a third party to assist us in getting to know what the root of who I am, who he is, and everything, then you need to talk to BCI. All right. So thank you so much, Kenny.
Thank you so much, sir. Wow, what a conversation. I believe it has been inspiring and it has been educative. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, even with us, I mean, all the panelists and even the participants for your questions. They have indeed helped us to arrive at this point where we all understand that premarital background check is very much important, and it is something that we all should look out for even before putting the Asoebi color together, putting the theme of the wedding together, and all those beautiful things. Because without this information, you can tell that there might be some issues in the marriage. So it is important that you ensure that the cost is cleared even before you journey into that relationship and marriage. My name is Oluwakemisola Olaogun. Thank you so much for having me moderate the panelist session of today's conversation. Now I'm going to hand over back to Peter to continue the course of the webinar. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Kemisola, for leading us through these interesting 3 hours of our time. I believe for me, it has been very enlightening and educative, as well as inspiring. And I believe I speak for everyone on the call when I say this. Thank you so much. Before we round off, I would like to call on our chairman, Mr. Dr. Tunji Olugbodi, to give us a final vote of thanks.
All right, thank you very much, Peter. And it's been a very interesting 2 hours, 57 minutes or so. Obviously, I think there's been a lot that we have learned, a lot that we have gained in terms of insight, a lot that has happened through the interactions and the intervention of different experts on the subject matter. Personally, I take 3 things away from this whole discourse. Number 1 is that glitters is not gold. You know, like we say in Lagos, you say shine your eye. Sometimes the one that glitters is burnished. It's very important that you find out what is below the skin layer. I think the second thing for me is that information is power, information is knowledge. It's very important to understand the environment you're getting into, especially when you talk about the marriage institution. Basically, what you then do with the information is entirely up to you. But when you fly in blind and you don't have any information, or you don't seek any knowledge about the person that you're ostensibly going to be spending the rest of your life with, then there's a problem that, that you've already, more or less inculcated that beneath. So I think it's very important for us to at least get out of knowledge, operate out of understanding, that you know what to navigate and how to navigate. The thing for, and I think that has come out clearly from all the discussions here, because as you can tell, there are so many subsets to marriage. In the last or so, we've spoken about health, we've spoken about legal, about law issues, we've spoken about psychology and counseling, we've spoken about finance, we've spoken about spiritual issues, we've spoken about diverse things, all of which are subsumed on the issue of marriage. So on one hand, marriage is a good thing to get into. It's a beautiful thing that can set the tone for how well you live the rest of your life. On the other hand, it's also that it's a journey of adventure. And there should be a minimum strike level, if you like, or a benchmark or standard by which you want to enter such adventure. And I think that's the whole purpose of having to do the background check as is necessary for the spouse that you are going to be settling with. So it's very important, therefore, for us to understand that when you do this, it offers you some peace of mind to the extent that you understand what you're getting into, you understand the nature of the challenges that you might have, you understand the dynamism of the person that you'll be dealing with, you understand the entire footprint of what you'll be involved in. And that gives you some level of knowledge and empowerment in terms of what you want to do for the rest of your life and how you want to navigate. On that note, I'd like to thank our distinguished panelists. I'd like to thank my dear sister, Mrs. Bumi Lawson. Good to see you here again. I'd like to thank my brother, Chief Ade Adeniji, who will come back a long, long way. Thank you for your submissions and for your forbearance. I'd like to thank Mr. Penela Akintujoye. Very interesting insight that you provided. And of course, I thank Kemi, how you skillfully moderated the entire session, and for you too, Peter, for being the anchor of this. I think much more important is also to thank the management of VCF, Background Check International, because you've used this to set the tone for a lot of people who do not understand how important it is to check the background and check the antecedents of people that they might want to settle with. I wish everyone the very best for the rest of the day, and I certainly wish Background Check International the best for the rest of the year and the time ahead. Thank you all for your time here today. I think it's a time very well spent. I do not expect that this should be a mere talk show. I will encourage the management to issue some kind of communique from this that will also help to guide further discussions and conversations as may be necessary. And for those who may have more questions or clarifications, I think it's also important that the channel of communication be kept open for those who might want to take some practical steps or will need further guidance in terms of how to go about this. So it's important to spread the news. Checking background of somebody who is supposed to be your spouse is supposed to give you knowledge that empowers you to take informed decisions and have informed opinions. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you all.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you everyone again for joining us today. And this webinar, it's a series, so you can be sure that more will be coming your way before the year runs out as well. Thank you so much, Kemi. Thank you, the panelists, Mr. Penela, Mr. Kola Olubodi, Madam Lawson, and as well, Chief Ade Adeniji. Thank you all so much for keeping the date with us, and expect to have us next time. Thank you. Have a good one.